I'd like to call this meeting to order, a regular meeting of the Plan Commission on Monday, November 13th at 6:30 PM in the Germantown Village Hall Boardroom, and also can be accessed via WebEx. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with sections 19.83 and 19.84 of the Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call shows all commissioners present except for Mr. Leszewski, who is excused. We will then go to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of minutes from the October 23rd Plan Commission meeting.
Move approval is presented.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve the minutes? Okay, Mr. Williams will abstain, as will I, because I wasn't here either. So, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor of the approval of the minutes from the 10/23/23 meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed, 2 abstain. Before we get into new business, we do have several public hearings on tonight's agenda. We also do have citizen input in a different location on tonight's agenda, but we're requesting that if anybody wants to speak in either of those 2 items for either the 2 public hearings that we have on tonight's agenda or for citizen input and public appearance, in order to make it easier for our recording secretary, if you could fill out a slip that is available by the entrance on the table, that would be greatly appreciated. That way we spell your name right and we get your address correct as well. So we'd appreciate help with that. So with that announcement, we can start new business. Item A, which is Bryan Building Corporation, agent for Brian and Kevin Kazmierzak and Mark and Joanne Steffen, which are the property owners of approximately 52.72 acres north of Holy Hill Road, east of Highway 41, south of Rockfield Road. Applications to rezone 52.72 acres from the A1 Agricultural Zoning District to the M1 Limited Industrial Zoning District, and to amend the 2050 Future Land Use Plan. That's on tonight's agenda for public hearing and action. To give us some more information and background on this new business item A, we'll turn the meeting over to our Community Development Director, Jeff Retzela.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. These 2 items, the land use plan amendment and rezoning applications, are prerequisites for potential development of a 233,450 square foot office and light manufacturing facility located in the Holy Hill Road at I-41 interchange. Project involves, at this point, 2 property owners, 3 parcels, and 52.7 acres, as highlighted in red on the screen in the northeast corner of the interchange. Here's a couple other photos of the site in the distance there. And at this point, I would like to ask that the representatives for Bryan Building Corp. And Green Bay Packaging, you're welcome to come forward and discuss your project. We have your slides in order, and you guys can take it away.
Thank you. Just hit the bottom button on the microphone, and if the light goes out, then you know you got it on. Yep.
Jeff.
There you go.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here. So just by means of introduction, my name is Brian Hollenbach. I'm Executive Vice President of Green Bay Packaging. My responsibilities are all of our box plants, paper mills, woodlands. The company reports up to me, and then I report up to our owner, who's Will Kress. I want to talk to you for a few minutes about Green Bay Packaging, just so you know the type of company we are. I'm sure some of you know a little bit about us. And then we're going to go a little bit into what we want to accomplish here. Number one, I'm really excited about being here and having the opportunity to speak to you about what we want to do and about working more with the Germantown community that we have a long history with. But so Green Bay Packaging, if you don't know us, we've been around 90 years, started in 33 by George Kress. George Kress actually started I'm not going to go into too much of your time, but he started with a brown box plant. And it's really kind of the all-American story. He kept building the business, eventually turned it over to his son, Jim Kress, and now Will Kress, who's my boss, who's chairman and CEO. So we started out really as a very small little box plant, and now we're one of the largest privately held companies in the state of Wisconsin. We've got 4,700 employees across the country. We're about 2.6 billion in sales. We've been recognized as Wisconsin Manufacturer of the Year a couple of years ago. In 2021, we built the first new paper mill in the state of Wisconsin in over 35 years. And we built it in a way that it is arguably the most environmentally friendly mill in the United States. It's been certified by multiple sources as that. And we're just a cool company, okay? And the other neat thing about us is we have a foundation that is funded by Green Bay Packaging called the George Crest Foundation, and it's one of the most philanthropic foundations in the state of Wisconsin. So why are we here? So back in 2014, we purchased a company in Germantown called Great Lakes Packaging. Great Lakes Packaging has a wonderful history with Germantown, been here over 50 years. And when we bought it in 14, we knew that something was going to have to give. It was located in these 3 plants that you see here on Carnegie Road. I'm sorry, these 4 plants, a pretty inefficient operation. And what we did is we challenged a couple of people that are here today, Steve Wolf and Dave Malley, and some of our other employees who are here today on, let's make this a really efficient business and then let's see what we can do. And they have. And it's become a really neat part of Green Bay Packaging. And in my job, I've built many greenfields and brownfields. In fact, I'm in the middle of 2 right now. And I kind of have a common theme, and Will Crest buys in this theme. We want to build a plant to reward the employees and to do the right thing for Green Bay Packaging. We'd like to do it within about 10-mile radius of where we are right now, okay? The reality is we've built a good business here, what we call Great Lakes Packaging, a division of Green Bay. And it's time to give them a more efficient operation. And we really want to do that in Germantown. We think Germantown's a great community. Of the 4,700 employees, just give you an example, we have 1,600 of them work in the state of Wisconsin. Of that, about 1,150 of them are in Brown County, that area, right? And there's another 350 that are in the southeast part of the state, right around here, between here, Franksville, and Fort Atkinson. I think in Germantown itself, like I know there's 80 we have 80 employees at that Germantown location. And so our plan is, if you allow us, is to purchase this property and build a beautiful state-of-the-art plant. We build nice plants. We're going to go through that in a moment. We don't build the old-fashioned manufacturing. We build state-of-the-art plants. We invest a lot of money in them. And we try to do the right things for the community at that time. And we want to do it here, not only because of a great community, because frankly, if we do it here, I can keep all 80 of those employees, and I'm confident they won't move. They'll come here, and we'll be able to, grow on a nice business what we built. So what I'd kind of like to do at this point is I'm going to submit to you. I know this wasn't in the packet, but I wrote a letter back on October 12th, and I gave it to Dave Malley and Steve Wolf, who run our plant. I asked them to have the employees review it, and if they're confident and they feel good about it, would they be willing to sign the letter? And what it says on Exhibit A, you can skim it when you'd like to. It says, as employees of Green Bay Packaging Great Lakes Division, we would like to extend our full support for the newly proposed facility to maintain its operations in Germantown, as outlined in this letter. And every single employee signed it. Every single employee at our location is very excited about this. And I hope you'll be as excited as well. I'm going to turn over to Joe. He's going to show you a little bit more of the aesthetics and everything else regarding the facility. And then I'm willing, I know Joe is as well, to take any questions you have whatsoever.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I appreciate everyone coming out. I'm Joe Jersenis. I'm a vice president with Bryan Building Corporation. We've been working with Green Bay Packaging on looking at new locations here throughout southeast Wisconsin, Germantown area, and inevitably landed on this location here. You can kind of see an aerial view of it there. The location that we're talking about today is located in the northeast quadrant of Holy Hill Road and Highway 41. As Brian mentioned earlier, it's about 52.9 acres. This specific development is located within the Holy Hill Gateway District. We're here tonight requesting a rezone and comprehensive plan amendment, changing the property from A1 use to M1 use light manufacturing. We're viewing this as a natural fit and a natural transition and something that is truly consistent with the Holy Hill Gateway District original plan. All other approvals associated with this will follow, but tonight we're hoping to get your support here on this new use. Brian talked about, their inefficient operations, and that's what's driving this. Green Bay Packaging's been growing. They've been a staple manufacturing operation in the community, and now they need to take that operation to the next level. Without going into too much detail, if you're kind of looking at the slides here, I mean, they're literally having to load semi trucks up from go to one building to the second building, the third building, the fourth building. And a lot of these because you can't drive forklifts on the road. So they're truly maxed out. And the other reason driving this is their leases are going to be up and we need to start construction on their building spring, early summer of next year, 2024. So the proposed development that we're looking at is 223,000 square foot phase one building. That's going to consist of about 2 stories of 20,000 square feet of office with a planned phase one addition of about 112,000 square feet going east of the building. So the building itself is situated right off the Highway 41 and Holy Hill exit just north of that existing gas station that's there. The plan is to have a frontage road connect from Holy Hill all the way to Rockfield Road. And reviewing this is kind of the gateway project to Germantown. Green Bay has tasked us to make sure that this is a staple project. It sets the tone, it sets the new architectural standard for the community and is something that everyone passing by Germantown is going to be proud of. The key things with this development is it's going to create a lot of significant tax increment dollars as soon as it's completed. This isn't attached to a TIF right now, or it's not in a TID district. We're going to be able to start collecting tax dollars after occupancy. Connecting the road, just further extending your guys' master development plans of connecting Rockfield to Holy Hill. But it's also going to not leave you guys without other mixed use commercial. I know that's been talked about, and that has been one of the hindrances on why we pushed this off. But I think that the Freestad development is still going to maintain significant amount of area for you guys to still look at doing those developments. So this building, as we start to get in some of the architectural features, I mean, it's combining, the corporate and industrial use. Project in the area support this. And we're looking at about a $60 million total investment in this development. And those significant tax annual dollars are going to go to support a lot of the infrastructure improvements to Germantown and even go to support a lot and spearhead a lot more of the new development in the area. The project itself is consistent with surrounding properties. The development's not going to have a negative effect on any of the neighboring properties' property values. And with the use that we're proposing, this is truly minimal traffic impact when compared to other mixed use projects. And I know the neighbors have talked about some of the traffic. And it's going to allow for more significant growth. And it's going to relieve some of that tax pressure on all the residential and just create more industrial pockets for taxing. It's going to create more jobs in the village. It's going to keep the existing employee base on a Great Lakes division staying here in Germantown, and it's going to continue to grow. And they're viewing this as a long-term home. This isn't just the right now, and then in 15 years, we got to be looking at a new building. Green Bay is approaching this project from a standpoint of how do we create this our long-term home and remain a staple employer in the economy. We start looking at architectural elements of the building. We're going to go back and look at if you guys look here up on the screen, you're going to see some of the inspirational ideas that were part of your guys' initial look at the Holy Hill and Freestad districts. And I think we're exceeding them. As we start to get into some of these drawings here, we're definitely meeting them, if not exceeding what you guys wanted for expectations. Now we'll take a look at some of the new renderings and elevations moving forward. So right here, we're looking at an elevated aerial of the proposed building, looking northwest towards Highway 41. This is a street view, and you can see some of the trees ghost out, so we're not trying to hide the building with trees. We're trying to give a good representation of the views of what you're going to see coming down the connector road. So this is looking north down the connector / frontage road, coming off of Holy Hill Road. This next vision is sitting there on the frontage road. It's a street level view, looking northeast at the main entrance from the road. Looking at the building here is a street level view from the Highway 41 north on-ramp on Holy Hill Road. And this is just that same view elevated above, so you can see what it looks like from an aerial view, bird's eye view looking down. Gas station remains, and I know you got to talk about maybe revising the access to the gas station, but frontage road would travel all the way up to Rockfield. This being a look at the main entrance. This is northeast, ground level view. Another aerial view. This is bird's eye view sitting west of Highway 41, looking southeast. Same view at ground level. And the main entrance. So I know we kind of ran through a lot of those views and didn't really talk much about the architectural detail. But I wanted to kind of hit on all of these to show that we're meeting, if not exceeding, your guys' standards. We've taken adequate consideration into proper screening, proper architectural design, coming all the way around the building, making this a true gateway project, something everyone's going to be proud of. There was major consideration talking about the loading docks and what it's going to look like, and even putting some architectural features above the loading docks and turning this more into a focal point. We've been given direction on some of the other buildings in the area that have been built, and we've gone to those, we've toured those, and we've taken the time and consideration into taking those concepts and incorporating them into the new design here. At that, I'll leave it up if you guys have any questions.
Commissioners, any questions?
I'm just going to carry on with the rest
Okay,
of.
thank you.
So tonight, there are two proposals, the 2050 land use plan amendment and a rezoning. With respect to the plan amendment, we're going to start wading into the weeds a little bit here. This graphic shows what's referred to as figure 6.6 in the staff report. It's the land use vision concept plan for both the Holy Hill Gateway and Freistadt districts. It was included in the 2050 plan as sort of a jumpstart to providing the basis for future land use planning decisions and development approval decisions until the master plans for the two districts can be prepared. And you will note the subject property is highlighted in blue in the northeast corner of the Holy Hill at I-41 interchange. Right now, as shown on figure 6.6, this property is shown in red on the map, and that means mixed-use commercial and high-density residential. And the proposal is effectively to change that color to the brown, that's just to the right, to the east, to the light industrial warehouse category, as shown on that graphic. This would, as was pointed out in the applicant's materials, industrial is a desirable use in the Holy Hill Gateway District. It's just that at this point, the only land use plan that we have for the area to provide guidance on future development decisions is our Figure 6.6 vision plan, and that is what is being asked to be amended and revised to accommodate the light industrial or light manufacturing proposal for Green Bay Packaging. The rezoning, as mentioned earlier, is simply to rezone the same 52 plus acres from the A1 agricultural to the M1 limited industrial area, the zoning district that would accommodate this type of development. The Gateway District Master Plan, as we've discussed, is intended to determine the suitability for mixed-use commercial and high-density residential uses or something else consistent with the 2050 plan vision. Unless and until that plan is done, the thought was that the Figure 6.6 would guide future decisions. As you are aware, the Holy Hill Gateway and Freistadt District Master Plans are temporarily on hold pending a couple of things that came up after we had prepared the RFPs and invited consultants to provide proposals. Those two things include the Tracy Cross and Associates residential market analysis. That is going to help us determine the demand for different types of residential uses, including high-density residential throughout the village, and more specifically in key areas that we asked the consultant to look at, this being one of those. That study is not expected to be completed until the week after Thanksgiving, so just a few weeks away. The second item is the frontage road railroad crossing. As you know, and as shown on Figure 6.6, the village proposes to construct a frontage road effectively from Freistadt Road on the south through the Freistadt District, across the Wisconsin and Southern Railroad, north to Holy Hill Road, north from that point up to Rockfield Road, and possibly further north of Rockfield to Bonnewell. And that's effectively the concept for the frontage road through that particular area. The railroad crossing that we thought would be a relatively easy task south of Holy Hill Road, because there is an existing crossing there, and the village was considering or looking at it as if we were seeking a revision to an existing crossing. The railroad has since, I would say, convinced the Office of the Commissioner of Railroads and the DOT to view that as a new crossing and not a modification to an existing crossing. So the hurdle for us to get that approved is set a little bit higher, and the time period a little bit longer than what we originally thought. With those things in mind, there's a couple other factors. Another one, important one to keep in mind is, as we are moving forward, looking at the utility extension of water and sewer from Germantown to Richfield, that proposal includes extending those main lines through the Freistadt District south of the railroad. And in the course of investigating soils, topography, environmental constraints, we identified a significant amount of wetland area scattered throughout the Freistadt District, much more than what's presented in the sort of compact green areas as presented on that Figure 6.6 on the screen. There are pockets of wetland scattered throughout, as you probably have seen in that wetland inventory that we had the consultant take for that particular project. So what does that mean for this? In addition to the residential market analysis, the frontage road question, now the question is the Freistadt District suitable for the amount and type of business uses that were envisioned as shown on this vision plan under Figure 6.6? You'll notice that along Highway 41, we show the red category. That's the mixed-use commercial and high-density residential. And the light purple to the east that makes up the bulk of that area was intended to also be a business district that would provide for smaller office uses, maybe some light manufacturing, but all on a smaller scale, smaller buildings. Frankly, given those three things, it calls into question the suitability of the Freistadt district for a potential business area. In fact, some are arguing at this point, somewhat speculatively, but arguing nonetheless, that we could effectively relocate the mixed-use commercial, high-density residential from the Holy Hill Road interchange, where this proposal is proposed, into the Freistadt district along 41 and still satisfy the demand for residential, high-density residential in the village. I think that's a viable alternative and something that we will be pursuing as part of the master plan efforts on the heels of the residential market analysis, and also waiting to see the outcome of the railroad crossing study. Obviously, for some of us, if we don't have a railroad crossing, there's really not much sense in proposing a business park in that part south of the railroad in the Freistadt district because of the circuitous route that traffic would have to take to get back to Goldendale and back up to Holy Hill Road to the interchange. So with those considerations in mind, the staff recommendation at this point is to approve the proposed 2050 land use plan map amendment to change the vision figure 6.6 plan from red to brown, from the mixed use commercial and high density residential to the light industrial and warehouse, and also to approve the rezoning of the 3 parcels that comprise the 52 plus acres from A1 agricultural to M1 limited industrial. And with that, we can open the public hearing.
All right, thank you. Then I will open this public hearing by hereby stating a notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village of Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located on Mequon Road in Germantown on Monday, November 13th at 6:30 p.m. or later. The purpose of said hearing is to hear any and all parties or attorneys or agents for or against the following applications, which is number 1, an application to rezone the following described property from the A1 agricultural zoning district to the M1 limited industrial zoning district pursuant to section 17.33 of the municipal code, and number 2, excuse me, a 2050 comprehensive plan amendment to allow industrial land uses on the following described property. The applicant is Bryan Building Corporation, agent for Green Bay Packaging, Great Lakes Division. The property owners are Brian and Kevin Kazmierzak and Mark and Joanne Steffen. Property address is approximately 52.72 acres north of Holy Hill Road, east of Highway 41, south of Rockfield Road, and there are tax parcels also listed. Thank you. Before we start the public hearing and coming forward with your comments, I do have 2 comments that we received via email. The first one was received today, and it comes from Scott Heffley, and it's for the Plan Commission Green Bay Packaging. The opinion of the item is I am in favor of the item, and his comments go as such. I know this is being brought forward again as an agenda item. I have been in support of this development from when I first saw it discussed. As it will be a corporate headquarters and a manufacturing facility, it will anchor the industrial park at one end. The plans I have seen are tasteful and well thought out, unlike the homogeneous nature of most, if not all, of the cookie cutter type buildings we have allowed in there. I realize the 2050 plan wants some sort of mixed use in there, but it is much too late for any of that. There will likely be no real development of retail or anything for the residents of Germantown in that area. No sports complex, hotels, entertainment district, restaurants, or retail. It is much too late for that. The village board was clear in their intent, just put a bunch of warehouses and manufacturing. As an example, you can't put any residential out there because the residents would have Highway 41, 45 on one side and an industrial zone with heavy traffic on the other. So any other use than manufacturing warehousing does not fit and would look out of place, and therefore this project should be allowed to go forward, as it will help the homogeneity of the area from the road. So I fully support Green Bay Packaging efforts to consolidate their space and stay in Germantown for many years. They have been here for about 50 years already, and we need to support our local businesses and not just allow anyone to build whatever they want and not know what kind of business partner we are getting. We know Green Bay Packaging. Let's make sure they stay here. Thank you. The next comment that I had received was from Mike Bombasi, and it goes as such: as a member of Germantown for the last 9 years, I have learned what it means to be part of a community, something I did not have when I was young, but experienced a little of it in college. I have seen in many areas around here, and even those in this room today, what it's like to be part of this community. I have made a large part of my life to take part in this community by helping children through coaching the last 8 years, even though I do not have any children of my own. I choose to coach here because I want to make a difference here in Germantown. That is important to me. As a creative director of the in-store marketing for Green Bay Packaging, they have allowed me and others to work for or at the Great Lakes Division the autonomy to be able to have those opportunities here. It is a large part of who Green Bay Packaging and owner Will Kress is. Not a week goes by that I do not see and ask for volunteers for a soup kitchen, a startup of a fundraiser, or help with another fundraiser. This is important to this company, and it is important to me and should be important to all of us. This is a company worth keeping in our community. Not all the businesses here can say this. They are trying to build a bright future to not only improve employees' lives, but also value those communities that they reside in. Their goal is to invest in strong communities like Germantown, and we should be investing in strong companies like Green Bay Packaging. Thank you, Mike Bombasi. Those are the two comments that I have received in regards to this public hearing notice. If there is anyone within our audience or joining us via WebEx that would like to come forward to speak for or against the application to rezone the property from A1 agricultural to M1 limited industrial, or to speak for or against the 2050 comprehensive plan amendment, you're welcome to do so at this time. If you've filled out a slip of paper, just hand it to Lori here, and then she can use it to add in your name and your address correctly. So anyone wishing to come forward to speak for or against the zoning change or the comprehensive plan amendment change is welcome to do so. Please come to the podium if you would like. Good. Thank you.
Okay, Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. Good evening. So some of my comments are for the Green Bay people, some of them are for the commissioners. But Green Bay people, don't go looking at the buildings that are already here, because a lot of people in the area think that they've blighted the neighborhood. They're ugly, a lot of them, and they're big, and they provide light pollution at night, and they've created a big traffic problem. So some of the speaker building is nice. It's got a lot more detail to it. Please don't just slam up some concrete panels like some of these other buildings. They're just hideous. One comment about the ugly side: if this is the gateway to to Germantown, why wouldn't you put the nice side facing the highway? Just a question. Okay, so the main thing that I have to say is about the money, and that the developers shouldn't plan on getting funds from TIDs or bonds or any kind of debt. Germantown doesn't have the money to pay for this, for roads or for any utilities or infrastructure. We've gone through a bad budget process where we've had to cut a lot of services. And I think it would be a bad message if we are somehow going to extend the TID to increase infrastructure for this property, or actually any other property that's in the area. So I'm against any kind of TID money being used or any other kind of bonds that the village has to bear towards this. So I'm just saying, be prepared to pay for those improvements yourself. From the standpoint of the neighborhood, the property butts up to the provisional land use area, which is a dashed line in the 2050 plan. That is a neighborhood that is beside a neighborhood that has been in the community for 30+ years. Last year, there were a lot of people who were very upset with the warehouses being built, but also the extension of utilities towards Richfield, because that means additional development, which is infringing upon their quiet enjoyment of their properties. So this plan commission has promised neighborhood meetings, which have not yet occurred. And I would suggest that the plan commission should, in conjunction with going through this process, and if you are going to change the 2050 plan, you should definitely be having those neighborhood meetings, especially the ones that are affected by this property, but also at the Freistadt area as well. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application or the change to the 2050 future land use plan?
Good evening, Plan Commission, Commissioners. Good to see you. Jan Miller, W151 and 10297, Windsong Circle West. I'm here tonight to comment about item A, Green Bay packaging. I was delighted to meet a few of the salespeople and nice presentation. I think it's a great idea to have a solid company that's been here 50 years, continue the tradition, and build a new facility. However, my next comments are cautionary, and I shared with the group in the back, I said, where are you getting the road to go to your facility? And in the excerpt that I read, it said there were approximately going to be 45 semi-trucks a day coming in and out. And perhaps it's over, estimating, but that's a lot. And I believe that this village does not have enough money in other TIDs to support this. And when we cut the library and the recreation departments by $100,000 this budget season, that's a pretty tough pill to take. So I would caution this commission before you change the 2050 plan that you are clearly aware of where the money is coming from to support this kind of traffic. And we already know that they're going to be improving the interchange. That's a few years down the road. A lot of things that aren't available right now that I thought would be available. The Tracy Cross survey. More wetlands have been found in the Freistadt area. The railroad crossing is not that wonderful of an area to cross, and so that would cost a lot more money. But my biggest concern is the road, who pays for it. Also, if you want to make your building look really nice, look at the U-Line Road down on I-94. It's beautiful. We appreciate you being part of Germantown, the village of Germantown, and would like to see you go forward again for another 50 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application or the change to the 2050 future land use plan? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Carrie Hensel, N132 W21570 Rockfield Road. And here just to oppose this whole amendment. We purchased a little over a year ago our property on Rockfield Road, which is a dead-end road that we are surrounded by agricultural. The Gateway Industrial is to our east and to the south of us, which we knew about, but certainly had moved to that area for part of that traffic pattern that. So largest opposition would be, we have no trucking on Rockfield Road. Just today I drove to work, big truck coming right down the road. So it's obviously, that's just from the Gateway area. That traffic, that trucking just changing the residents that are on Rockfield Road. And I know there are only a few of us down that road, but many of us chose to live there for the surrounding areas and to be away from the traffic and the light pollution on that. Trying to think what else I had. It does affect the neighborhood as a whole. Largely, the road traffic and the trucking definitely converts that. We are looking at doing, putting significant amount money into our home. And if this zoning process goes through, this is something that we would probably not want to do. Would really like to know if now that we're going to try to change this one, are we just going to eat up that whole area where our house is located on the other side of Rockfield Road as well, to just continue to allow this to be industrial. So thank you for your time.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the zoning change application or the application to change the 2050 land use plan? Anyone joining us via WebEx? Okay. Yes, sir.
Chad Johnson. I'm not a village resident, but my family owns 100 acres. May I speak?
Sure.
Okay. We own Treeland LLC. I don't have a form.
All
Did I
right.
find one?
In the back, when you're done.
Okay, I'll fill it out.
Thank you.
We own Treeland LLC. It's about 100 acres in the farthest northwestern portion of the village, and we are for staff recommendation to approve the rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application or the changes to the 2050 land use plan? Anyone else wishing to come forward? All right, if there's no one else, we can close this public hearing. Commissioners,
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the rezoning with, how many amendments are there? How many conditions are there with the rezoning? None? With no conditions as presented.
motion made. Do we have a second? Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? Trustee Baum.
I will just say that I'm in favor of doing this readjustment to the map. In talking to various people on this topic, the question does come up as to where can we put the mixed-use commercial high density? And if we can do that, we're still waiting for the studies for that to show whether it'll pan out or not. If we can get that type of business, it could easily go in where we have it designated as business park, and it could fit in between all the wetlands that are scattered in throughout there. So I just see that as a shifting of this. I do agree with this being a gateway building that is a higher presence than the other ones that we have in the area. So I am in support of changing the zoning.
Further discussion?
I'll basically just echo what he said. That's what, we're on the same page.
Okay. Mr. Shadid.
I feel the same way. I also don't think it's that much of a deviation from what the plan had. If we take it a mixed use, commercial and high density, this is commercial. So unless we took the approach that said if we put any commercial, we also had some high density at the same time, which I don't think we're saying. I don't think this is that big of a deviation in my mind.
Further discussion? You taking them up piece by piece, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Next motion.
Make a motion to approve the amendment to the land use plan with any conditions? No conditions, as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion on the motion to approve the change to the 2050 land use plan. No discussion. Mr. Williams? No? Okay. The only thing that I would add is I do appreciate the attention to detail on the architectural side. I think the building presents itself very well, not only from the aspect of what you see visually driving by on 4145, but also coming down off of that interchange on Holy Hill Road heading to the east. You know, I know that the businesses today, they have a lot of choices. They have a lot of people looking for them to locate in their community. And I know that even though this particular business has been here for a while, they could have chosen to go anywhere else, but they've chosen to look for a solution here. And for that, I do appreciate very much, and I thank you for that. Not only for the residents, but also for your employees that are used to commuting and coming to this area. And I do also appreciate the company's willingness to give a enhanced attention to detail to their building and want to make it such that it shows a great pride in being in this area as well. So thank you very much for that. But I am also in favor of changing the land use plan to accommodate. The second part that helps to make my mind up for this is that it is outside of the TIF, and any increment that is driven from this property, once it's been built and brought in, goes directly to the tax base. It doesn't pay off any bonds. It doesn't pay off anything else. It comes directly to the taxing districts within this area, which the village would receive about 22% for. So please remember that as we go forward through our approvals. Any other discussion on the motion to change the land use plan? Mr. Williams?
So given what you had just indicated with regards to the TIF, are there going to be any village funds that are going to be requested for the project?
As a question to Great Lakes Packaging?
That's Green Bay Packaging, Great Lakes Division, yes.
Yeah, I mean, not at this time. I think there's supposed to be discussion on the road, but I think that's something that can be voted on and talked about at a later date. But there hasn't been any request at this point for anything to do with the land or infrastructure.
The frontage road is what you're talking about, because I understood.
The frontage road.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
We have no intention beyond that.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion on the motion to approve? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. Thank you for your presentation, and thank you for the large group here today, spending time with us. I appreciate it all.
And I want to say one thing, and thank you very much to everybody. And I do want to say one thing to all the folks who spoke. I thank you very much for speaking, and we listened to you. And we are going to build a building you're going to be very proud of. This will not be a cookie cutter building. This is going to be an extremely nice building. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next item under new business is item B, Village of Germantown Community Development Department, proposed minor text amendments to Section 9, Public Peace and Good Order, and Section 17, Zoning Code pertaining to raising chickens in residential districts and accessory buildings on historic designated properties in residential zoning districts on tonight's agenda for public hearing and action. To give us more input and information on this new business item, once again, we'll turn the meeting over to Director Retzloff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Catching up on a couple of text amendments, some back burner issues that have been on my plate. I've got 4 minor text amendments that are proposed this evening. The first, amendment number 1, concerns Section 9, Public Peace and Good Order, section in the Village Code, specifically 9.11 regarding the raising of chickens in residential zoning districts. The minor text amendment that's shown is intended to clarify which residential zoning districts, chickens and other livestock that are referenced in those sections can be raised. And that includes the RS1 single family and the RS2 single family districts. The most recent permit application that we had in the last couple of months revealed somewhat of an ambiguity and a disconnect between the Section 9, the wording in Section 9, and in Section 17 in the zoning code regarding raising chickens on property in the residential districts. Amendments 2 and 3 concern Section 17 and similarly address the RS1 and RS2 districts with some clarifications regarding raising chickens. It clarifies and points back to, if you will, Section 9.11 regarding minimum setback and fencing requirements that would apply to both the RS1 and RS2 districts. So there's a cross-reference between the two now that have been built in so that anyone reading one section would be referred to the other. As I pointed out in my staff report, these amendments are not intended to reopen the issue of raising chickens in residential zoning districts. But it can, if you want it to. If you want to give that direction, we can. I know it's a hot topic in a lot of communities, has been for a number of years. There's even, as I included in the staff report, an effort afoot at the state level. A state legislator is moving wording or a bill through, trying to get some support that would effectively supersede local regulation to a limited degree and allow the raising of chickens on residential property in all communities, regardless of what the community rules might be. I will keep you abreast of that as it moves through the process, but keep in mind that if you feel so inclined to readdress the issue of raising chickens in residential districts, we would have to schedule that because I think it'll be an interesting and lengthy process. With that said, amendment number 4 in section 17, the zoning code, specifically 17.41, concerns the number and size of detached accessory buildings or garages on historically designated property in residential districts. This amendment is intended to address an inequity that has been pointed out in the current allowance for detached accessory buildings in the RS3 through RS7 single-family districts. Those are the districts that currently allow only one detached accessory building in addition to an attached garage. The issue comes in where a property is designated historic and doesn't have an attached garage, given when it was constructed, or shouldn't have, or couldn't have, or can't have, because of its historic designation and the need to maintain that historic designation by not allowing an attached garage to be attached. This was an issue that was brought forward by resident Joseph Schuster. We discussed this back in September, and after that conversation, I pondered it a little bit longer and tend to agree that there's an issue with a very narrowly scope issue with properties in one of those zoning districts that's designated as historic. And that happens to be Mr. Schuster's example, but there may be others. I'm not aware of any. I haven't looked closely at our historically designated properties and whether or not there's an issue with that with them. But it's a possibility, and it certainly would address the issue going forward. As indicated in the staff report in the text amendment, the language that's being added, we're creating a new section that essentially allows one additional detached accessory building up to 864 square feet in area if a property is designated historic and does not have an attached garage. The staff recommendation obviously is to approve the proposed amendments as drafted. We can go to public hearing.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll open this public hearing by hereby stating a notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village of Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located on Mequon Road in Germantown on Monday, November 13th at 6:30 p.m. or later. The purpose of said hearing is to hear any and all parties, their attorneys or agents for or against the petition filed by the Village of Germantown Community Development Department for a proposed text amendment to the following sections of the municipal code of the Village of Germantown Municipal Code. Section 17.41, subsection 1, and Section 26.08 concerning an allowance for accessory buildings and structures allowed on properties designated as historic under Section 26, historic preservation, and Section 17.41 concerning accessory buildings and structures allowed on property located in businesses, industrial, and other non-residential zoning districts, and Section 17.14, subsection 2, subparagraph A, Section 17.15, Section 2, subparagraph B, and Section 9.11, subparagraph 11, subsection 2, concerning the keeping of livestock and poultry on property in certain residential zoning districts. If there's anyone within our audience that would like to come forward to speak for or against the changes and amendments made to these zoning descriptions, you're welcome to do so at this time. Just come to the podium and state your name and your address for the record. Is there anyone wishing to come forward to speak for or against? Sir. Thank you.
I am the example. Joseph Schuster, West 156, North 10081 Pilgrim Road. I am in favor for this amendment, of course. The only question I do have is with the two buildings, each being 864 square feet, is this going to be a combined total, which would be 728 square feet of building you're allowed to have, or is this going to be only 860, maximum 864 square feet per building? That would be the only question I would have if we're using a combined total, which it seems like according to most of the other village codes and everything, they seem to use a combined total. So that would be the only question for me. And I'm actually good.
Okay. It would be a combination.
It is a combined total?
Cumulative total.
Okay. Good. Anyone else wishing to come forward to speak for or against the recommended changes to the municipal code? Anyone else? If there is no one else, we can close this public hearing. Commissioners?
Make a motion to approve the proposed minor text amendments as presented.
Second?
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve?
Your motion is not by amendment, it's for the whole thing, right?
Yes, for all. No discussion? Mr. Nilles?
These seem to make sense to me. I'm going to support them. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Question and I don't want to get into the chicken thing too deep here, but it's just for two zoning districts, District 1 and District 2, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Further discussion? Mr. Williams?
Just to clarify the answer you just gave when you said 864 square feet cumulative, that's a total for the.
Put your mic on. Thank you.
It's 864 square feet per building or 864 square feet total for the two buildings or 1.75%?
Well, it's a percentage, but
Of
it's
the lot.
up to whatever the maximum percentage would be cumulative for both of the buildings.
Okay. Gotcha. Understand. Thank you.
Further discussion? The motion to approve. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Next item under,
I'm going to recuse myself for the next item.
okay. Next item under new business is item C, Vertus Development LLC, agent for District 1 LLC, property owner of West 140 North 10363 Fond du Lac Avenue, and the Robert and Mary Elizabeth Hacker Trust, property owners of a .66 acre lot on Fond du Lac Avenue, certified survey map application to combine parcels and landscape plan review. Give us more information, background on this new business item. Once again, we'll turn the meeting over to the Community Development Director, Jeff Retzlaff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Back in August, the Plan Commission approved site development and building plans. And the Village Board in September approved the rezoning and amendment to the Coburg Plan Development District that would allow the expansion and addition of 2 parcels to the Coburg District PDD for purposes of developing a 33-stall parking lot to serve the existing coffee house and proposed restaurant in the original PDD boundary area located highlighted in yellow, and the parking area to the south would support that. And then the second parcel, the 4-unit townhouse that would include the stormwater basin to the south. The PDD conditions and restrictions resolution that was amended requires a certified survey map to combine the original PDD area with the parking lot parcel. And that is one of the items on the docket tonight. And the Plan Commission site plan approval required a complete landscape plan for both the parking lot and the townhouse parcels to be approved by the Plan Commission. Here's the approved site plan for the parking and the townhouse, the certified survey map that is proposed to create lot 1.765 acres. Again, that would contain the 2 commercial buildings, coffee house and the restaurant, and the parking lot. And then lot 2.66 acres for development of the 4-unit townhouse in the stormwater basin. The proposed landscape plan has been submitted and is shown here on the screen. Includes a significant amount of plantings in and around the parking lot area, the townhouse foundation plantings, and the stormwater basin, some street trees, and along the south property line. Staff comments on the landscape plan. There's no detail that was provided with regard to the decorative fence that is required along the entire length of the south property line. That was a requirement that is in both the Plan Development District Conditions and Restrictions Resolution and part of the original Plan Commission approval of the site plan. The developer is proposing a 6-foot dog-eared wooden picket fence on metal pipe supports like what was installed on the backside or the west side of the parking lot behind the coffee house. Staff doesn't feel that that's a decorative fence by any stretch, but there were no details that were provided in the plan itself. The landscape buffer screen, also a requirement for the south property line to provide or supplement the fence to provide a buffer screen with the residential area to the south. That landscape is actually shown on the north side of the fence and doesn't really do the serve the intended function of layering and supplementing the fence to provide a definitive screen and buffer from the residential area to the south. Finally, the CSM requires approval of all property owners in there, and that's an item that needs to be revised before recording. Additional staff comments. The village surveyor has reviewed the CSM, has a few other minor corrections that would need to be made to the CSM prior to recording. The village forester has reviewed the plan and recommends approval of the plantings that are shown. And with that, the staff recommendation is to approve the certified survey map for the District 1 LLC and the Hacker Trust properties located in the Coburg District, subject to 2 conditions, and also recommend approval of the proposed landscape plan for the Coburg District parking lot and townhouse development subject to 3 conditions. And simply stated as in the staff report, unless specifically identified, the conditions of this approval of the landscape plan are in addition to and not intended to supersede those previously adopted by the Plan Commission in the August 14th approval of the overall site plan. We have somebody representing District 1 LLC here this evening to comment.
Thank you, Director Retzloff. We are in agreement with most of these recommendations and would just ask that we have the opportunity to meet with you, Director, and determine what would be adequate as far as a decorative fence, since it is a subjective decision. So we'd ask that we sit down with you to discuss that, as well as what the length of that fence should be, because if it is put all the way down to the paved driveway, we're concerned that there may be some issue with the southern most residents pulling out of their drive to get onto Fond du Lac. In addition to they have an existing very large evergreen tree along that path. So what we again request is we meet to determine what's the best length of that fence and what's the best landscaping that could supplement perhaps not extending that all the way to the roadway or to the end of the drive. And then additionally, we would like to discuss how we can work with the residents to the south of what type of landscaping would be agreed upon for them to plant with us paying for that, where we can give them the opportunity to pick the plants and have that planted, but we would pay for it to take away some liability potentially from us.
Okay.
So everything else we agree with.
Yeah,
make
that
sense?
sounds fine.
Okay.
I guess I would ask maybe the plan commission could give some direction with regard to the decorative fence. Frankly, there's all sorts of decorative wooden fences. That I was thinking a wooden fence, frankly. Something that has the top portion that has some sort of different appearance to it. I don't know, Josh, if you have any suggestions, any.
Well, just like something with a double rail on the top where it's typically not just the end of the board on its raw end, almost like a cap. I think the entrance to Timberstone subdivision it's not 6 foot tall, but that style. Or it's just a more finished look.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be very elaborate, but just something that's more than just a standard vertical picket fence.
We'd like to be able to have, if we can, still the metal poles if they're hidden, just because of this, we need the strength of that for that area.
Sure, the poles would face inward.
Inward anyways, correct.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Now, with this, if it's approved tonight, will this be approved next Tuesday or next Monday at the village board meeting?
The CSM would, yes.
Because I'm wondering, would we be able to meet with you this week to be able to get the approval on, because I believe the engineering has been, those have been answered, I believe, from our engineer with your group that you hired. I believe we've taken care of all those different things that were brought up, the items that were brought up. I think the only other thing that is required is we agree with the DOT with the trees. We'll get that worked out. It's just getting approval on what the fence and the landscaping answer is going to be for that southern piece.
Yeah,
does that seem plausible?
Yeah, that's possibility.
Okay. And I do want to thank Director Retzloff and Ms. Johnson for their help. They've been extremely helpful getting us to this point for this meeting. So thank you for that.
Commissioners?
I will move approval of the proposed survey map. That's the first article on here with the 2 conditions.
Okay, motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion on the motion to approve the certified survey map?
Yeah, if I could just jump in.
Mhm.
That would be the only item that the board has to approve, the CSM.
Okay.
The other items are just plan commission level and whatever we work out staff wise.
Okay, so if we're able to work this out, will there be another vote or will it be
No.
approved based on the
No, if
condition?
they approve it tonight with the conditions in there.
And we agree on the conditions of the conditions. Okay.
Further discussion on the motion to approve the certified survey map? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None opposed, 1 abstains. Next motion, which would be for the landscape plan.
I move approval of the proposed landscape plan as directed here with the 3 conditions.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Mr. Tarantino, looking over the plants, do you feel they are all of longevity to sustain anything that they would need to be put against, especially around the parking lot area with salt and or?
Yeah, I studied it. It's a good plan. It's a very good plan. My question was on that area from the coffee house parking lot to the residence. If that was gonna be enough to screen the headlights. Because you have like maximum 4 foot of height there and not year round.
Mean to the new development of residents?
Yeah, because the elevation change from parking lot to the residential building,
Mm-hmm.
you have grasses and upright roses. I know that was a point of contention last time we were talking about as far as window placement and where the lights from the coffee house would be lighting up the side of the building,
Do you mean the townhouse?
the townhouse. Yeah.
Okay, now I understand.
Sorry. The people coming from the north parking lot, their lights would be shining onto the townhouses. Right? To the south.
Yes.
Yes, presumably at night they would be driving in and the lights would sweep as they turn to park and go out
So
in that particular pattern.
that was the only thing that stood out to me that we talked about last time that might not, probably won't
Well,
block the headlights.
so are you saying that the sumac that are proposed at the base of the crab apples won't grow?
No, they will, but it's all
Tall.
deciduous, so it loses leaves, and so if it's not a problem, it's not a problem, but if it's, we talked about it last time, and when the leaves drop, obviously it's gonna all be see-through.
Right. Well, the violet uprising lilacs that are proposed on the east side of the parking lot, between the parking lot and Fond du Lac Avenue, those will grow and those are deciduous, right?
Those are deciduous, yeah.
Lilacs are. They'll drop their leaves in the fall.
So that was it. I mean, it's just that you're aware of that the lights are gonna still sweep through it. It may be filtered, but it's not something that
Well, it's
I'm trying
not
to get
absolutely
stuck
wrong.
on. It's just, we talked about it last time and that was all I noticed.
No,
Beautiful
you're
plant.
right. Most of the plantings are lower. They're not going to grow 6 feet high.
Right. So from a blockage standpoint of trying to limit the lights, I would say evergreens would do a better job. Then you're going to have, depending on how far off of the pavement they are, the salt to contend with.
Well, are you suggesting that there should be something taller growing in that particular area?
Taller and evergreen.
What would you recommend?
Can I give you
Yes.
that recommendation and give it to, you can get it to him?
Well, okay. However you want to propose it. If you want to propose a change to the landscape plan, you'll have to.
Yeah, I want to scale the bed before I propose something to see what size and I'll propose something that's too big for the spot.
From his hip
Okay.
right now, tonight.
Is that okay with you, David?
Yeah. I'll have it to you tomorrow.
Okay. So however you want to phrase that in the
That's all you.
recommendation.
Let me cost the same too.
Does that require an amendment?
Is that an amended, do we need another motion?
You could amend your motion to include the revised recommended landscaping plan on the, what is that, the south
South property line of the parking.
of the parking lot?
Yeah.
So we need to make amendment to that motion.
I so move that we, we can further state that we agree that Director Retzloff and Josh would do that together, or? You're gonna add those names in there. I think that's appropriate.
Okay,
So I make that motion
to amend. That's your motion to amend?
to amend, yes.
Okay, we need a second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? We're talking about making changes to the landscaping plan as presented to the south end of the parking lot so it more visually screens the lights that would come across to the new residential development.
What's the difference in elevation there? I mean, even if it was ground level, I guess it would still be a problem. But is there much difference? Okay. That was my only comment.
Okay, further discussion on the motion to amend? No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Not opposed. Back to the motion as amended. Further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Not opposed. Motion carries. Thank you for coming. Next item under new business is item D, the Architects Partnership TAP Agent for County Line LLC, property owner of Fleet Farm located at North 96 West 18200 County Line Road, site plan review for a 3,245 square foot Chase Bank building on a 2-lot certified survey map. It's on tonight's agenda for action, and to give us more information, we'll turn the meeting back over to Director Retzloff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Fleet Farm property is shown on the screen. It's approximately 16 acres in size. It butts up against the Menominee River, given the meander line, as you can see on the north property line. The CSM proposal is to recombine two parcels that comprise the Fleet Farm property and then redivide them into 2 lots. Lot 1 would be the larger parcel containing the Fleet Farm Retail Center, 14.3 acres. And Lot 2, just under an acre, 0.8 acres in size for the proposed Chase banking facility. This close-up shows proposed Lot 2 for the Chase Bank. This is the parcel subject of all the action that's proposed and all the changes. So we'll focus on that. Beyond the CSM, this aerial photo shows most of the Fleet Farm site, the developed portion of the site, with the proposed 0.8 acre parcel for the Chase Bank in the foreground, adjacent to Appleton and County Line roads, just what I'll call east of the Cornerstone Center, that multi-tenant retail center in front of the Fleet Farm property. The existing area looks like this on paper, mostly parking stalls painted. For everyone who's familiar with the site, over the last number of years, it's generally been used for snow storage at the worst events, to parking of food trucks during the summer warmer seasons, farmer market wagons during the season, and the occasional parking for overflow traffic, usually around the busy times of the year, the holiday seasons and so on. The proposal is to create the 0.8 acre parcel and redevelop that area as part of a banking facility site. There'll be no change in access to the overall site. The 3 access driveways, the 2 on County Line, and the 1 on Appleton Avenue north of the Cornerstone Center will remain as is. There are no changes to that. As you'll see in a moment, the site plan for the Chase Bank does include some raised curbing and islands, and effectively creating 2 new internal driveways within the parking area. There's improved pedestrian access to the bank parcel from the existing sidewalk along County Line Road. The Fleet Farm parking, as I point out in the staff report, is reduced from a current total of about 501 parking stalls to 420. And then there are an additional 26 stalls created as part of the bank facility. Stormwater management as an improvement includes roof drains and on-site storm sewer that would convey stormwater from the bank site to the existing storm sewer in County Line Road. Overall, the improvements reduce the impervious area on this 0.8 acre area about 27%. So a significant reduction in the impervious area. This graphic shows the solid gray is, the darker gray is impervious, and the lighter is the newer areas, the curb islands, green space, if you will, areas that are being created on the Chase Bank property. In terms of landscaping, there's a significant amount of plantings that are proposed across the site. Around the perimeter of the parking, around the building itself, and within those raised median curbed areas on the site to effectively set it off from the Fleet Farm parking lot. There is an existing chain link fence that you might be familiar with that sort of wraps around the Cornerstone Center. That the stretch of fence that lies now between the Cornerstone Center and what would be the bank parcel, that section of fence will be removed. That basically along the common property line between the two parcels. The fence along the back side of the Cornerstone Center is not part of this proposal. However, I have had discussions with the owner of the Cornerstone Center, Scott Bentz, who has had discussions with Fleet Farm agents, and they're trying to work out an arrangement where they hopefully will remove that sort of ugly 6-foot high chain link fence and replace it with something more functional and more decorative on the back side of the Cornerstone Center. But the fence along the bank parcel here will be removed. Gone through the utility and the lighting plan. Building improvements, it's going to be a freestanding banking center with a drive-through ATM lane and walk-up ATM. This graphic shows the floor plan, 3,245 square feet. Exterior materials, cultured stone, masonry units, aluminum panels, black anodized storefront window system. The rooftop mechanicals will be hidden by parapet walls. The exterior site signage is to be determined. As you can see on the elevations, there are placeholders for signage on the building itself, but we don't have actual signage proposed as part of this, these applications. That'll be handled in a separate application. What I'm told is that the existing pylon sign at the corner of Appleton and County Line, it's currently a non-conforming pylon sign, and if they want to make any changes to it structurally or expand the cabinet, it'll have to come back into compliance with the current code requirements, and therefore couldn't be any more than a 15-foot high monument sign. Could have the electronic reader board, but would have to be integrated into the base and comprise no more than 40% of the sign area. I'm told they're working on a shared monument sign between the bank and Fleet Farm. Hopefully we'll see that come through and that pylon sign will be removed. Going through the elevations here. Contemporary architecture, minimal materials, color. I would consider it to be sort of a stark difference from what's going on around it, but frankly, what's going on around it has been constructed at so many different periods of time between Menominee Falls and in the village of Germantown that there's really no one particular architectural style reflected in the neighborhood, and it's not subject to the Germanic theme requirements, if you will, as we have along Mequon Road. So my feeling is that the west elevation, the one that's shown on the bottom of this screen, that would effectively face the Cornerstone Center, it needs some attention, in my opinion. And I'm sure the Plan Commission members can comment on that in a few minutes. There was a traffic impact study that was required and conducted for the property. Rather lengthy study included in the packet, but I'm going to try and sum it up rather quickly. The traffic generation from the bank is expected to be equally distributed across the road system, approximately 330 gross daily trips generated, a trip being a vehicle in and a vehicle out. So that's essentially 165 total vehicle trips to and from the site. 35 trips in the AM peak hour, 70 trips in the PM peak hour, with a 30 to 38% pass-by rating. Essentially, a third of the trips are already out on the adjacent road system. They'll just simply be diverted to the site by way of the driveways. And with that, the overall impact is on the intersections and adjacent road system is not expected to reduce the existing levels of service from what they currently are. Although, as you may have seen in the study, there are some intersection movements, particularly on the Appleton Avenue, County Line intersection, that are already operating at a level of service D, or in some cases E, depending on the time of the day. But the traffic expected to be generated from this particular bank facility isn't expected to reduce the overall delay or level of service beyond the existing levels experienced today. The consultant who prepared the impact study is recommending some minor improvements, installing a do not block the driveway sign at that right in, right out only driveway that's right on County Line Road, and providing some on-site signage for the bank and some wayfinding to the bank within the Fleet Farm parking lot is another recommendation by the consultant. In terms of staff comments, as I mentioned, I think some of the one of the elevations needs some attention as far as architecture materials. I don't believe that the Fleet Farm parking stall reduction, granted it's a 16% reduction of their total stalls, 500 stalls down to 420, is not going to significantly impact their overall operation. And the standard conditions as far as state-approved building plans being required for the bank. The village engineer has some technical corrections identified in a September memo that's included in the packet. The village surveyor has identified a couple of technical corrections that need to be made to the CSM prior to recording. The village forester is recommending approval of the landscape plan, and the Washington County Highway Department does agree with implementing the traffic study recommendations and the general conclusions of the study. Washington County has jurisdictional authority over County Line Road in that particular location and permitting authority for the driveway. They did indicate in their comments that they do want to reserve the right to reevaluate the secondary right-in, right-out only driveway on County Line Road, depending upon any future accident events and history. So with that, the staff recommendation to the Plan Commission is to approve the proposed CSM for the Fleet Farm property, subject to two conditions, and to approve the site development and building plans for the proposed 3,245 square foot Chase banking facility, subject to 9 conditions, all of which are in the staff report, and we can discuss those if necessary. Is there anybody here on behalf of Fleet Farm and or the Chase Bank? If you would like to comment, add, dispute any of the comments or recommendations, feel free to do so.
No, there should be a little dark button. Jeff, can you? There you go. You got it.
Perfect, thank you. So what we're proposing is an all masonry version of the current Chase prototype bank. Normally we do a fiber cement panel, but we're doing an all masonry construction here to keep with the tone of what's around us. This is more modern than what is in the general area, including the little mall that we would be right next to. But like you said, the character of the neighborhood doesn't really have a solidifying character. Development has just kind of happened over time. Hopefully we would bring a new tone to it, a little more modern aspect to the development. The comment to the four-sided architecture is, I gotta have a mechanical wall somewhere. We do our best to try and have that facing as back as possible. However, we're facing two streets, plus the Fleet Farm parking lot, plus an adjacent building, so it's very difficult to have a mechanical wall and four-sided architecture at the same time. We can look to see about breaking that up a little bit, bringing one portion of the building out a little bit further than the other, just to give it some articulation. We also have, from the landscape plan, we have a number of plantings going in there. Not all of them are low. I believe we've got some trees and taller bushes in there as well, so that'll help to break up that stark reality that you see from the elevation. So once those plantings have been in there for at least a year, and in some cases, as soon as they get planted, it's not gonna read like just a big massive wall anymore there. Chase has a sustainability direction currently that they're pursuing. So we're trying to use native plantings, things that are more common to the area, hardy for this zone, don't require excessive irrigation, long-lived items, perennials, not annuals, native grasses, that kind of thing. So as you can see, there's a lot of plantings, lot of plantings going on in here. In fact, we're looking at the potential to reduce the pervious area even a little bit more. I think we have a little more sidewalk than we necessarily need around the building. So we would have even more plantings at that point in time. We see this as a great opportunity. It's a great corner to make improvements on. Traffic is already, we're not changing any of the access aisles. So they've got to get onto that Fleet Farm property to get onto our property. Our signage package usually includes signage for our property, directing people to the ATM and to the main parking and front door. But we will certainly work with Fleet Farm to put some additional directional parking in their lot as well.
I think that might be needed. That might be needed to get people, particularly if they're coming onto the site from the north driveway on Appleton Avenue.
Correct. Yeah, if they turn in there, they're going to be going, where is everybody? So we'll work with Fleet Farm on that to make sure that we have some directional. We don't have a finalized signage package, so that's why you don't see any signage. Normally, Chase likes to go for their logo, their letter set and logo on all four sides. Obviously, we would have to get approval for that, and that'll be at another time. Definitely over the main entry and the wall facing County Line Road, or roughly facing County Line Road, would be the most desirous. And we're working with Fleet Farm about the non-conforming pylon sign that's there right now. So we're in discussion with them to come up with something that'll be nice. Chase likes nice things.
Good. Like to hear that.
Commissioners, questions? Mr. Shedid.
This mechanical wall, if you go to the proposed, where you were there, Jeff, sorry, go back to the landscape plan.
Okay.
Okay, if you look at that picture there, the wall that you see at the upper left-hand side of the picture, okay,
Yes,
is that the mechanical wall?
yes.
All right, then I guess there is quite a bit of material there to hide that wall, but maybe something could be done about covering the utility boxes or something just away from the building, anything there to break that up. Not speaking as an architect, of course.
Or landscape.
Oh, no,
We could-
I know how to mow the grass. No, but I just, there's got to be some potential there. Because that side of the building will be pretty obvious, because the development on the other side, the other property there, it sets back, whatever that is, that it's closest to Fleet Farm there, that's open. So your building is going to be really exposed to that parking lot.
Right. But as you can see, I don't know the species off the top of my head, but we have considerable plantings. We've created a new
Yeah, I agree with
buffer,
that. I do.
new buffer between that property and our property with considerable plantings. So those will help break it up as well.
And the other question I had is, where exactly is the ATM drive-through? Is that the lot on the right, upper right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Is it 2 lane or 1 lane or what is it?
It's one lane. The ATM is actually inside the building, so you'd be driving close to the building to get to it. And then there's a bypass lane. So if you turn that way and go, the line's too long or whatever, and you want to get around and just go out and maybe go to the front vestibule, you have that opportunity. We don't like to lock people in and make them sit there waiting for somebody who
Mhm.
can't seem to figure out how to operate an ATM.
Okay.
Mr. Nillis.
Just a question on the Cornerstone property. Is that a drive access that is not being used? And should that be considered in the site layout for this project?
It's actually striped with parking.
I see it's striped for parking now, but it looked like it might have been set up at one time to be some sort of access.
Access agreement.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, while it has that appearance and may have been set up in anticipation of possibly doing that at some point, the owner of the Cornerstone Center has no desire to create that.
Mhm.
And frankly, because there is no new driveway access from the proposed bank to Appleton or County Line, it's all internal from the Fleet Farm. To me, frankly, it doesn't matter. It has cross access with Fleet Farm.
Right. Understood.
I don't know, over time, I frequented Quarterstone there several times and I wouldn't want to put any more flow in that parking lot.
I realize that's a difficult lot at times. Yes. And I don't have any issues with the way this is laid out right now. I just kind of curious if that had come up in discussion for this new development. So that's it.
Tarantino.
I guess maybe a question for trustee Baum, but on that wall, the boring wall, could that be? Every other wall has 3 colors and 3 textures. Without even changing the ins and outs of it, could you just bring around those other colors and textures so that because I think you will see it a lot there's 5 juniper and then a bunch of grasses, and then across the parking lot where it borders the property line, there's viburnum. The juniper will be tall, but the remainder of that will be mostly cut down and leafless throughout the fall and winter. So can that be brought around?
Could put a visual color change in that wall without too much articulation in it. You could also put a freestanding wall or a fence on the other side of the sidewalk that would screen that a little bit more. I'm not sure. I think I heard it being admitted that we have excessive sidewalk on here, so maybe you don't even need the sidewalk, but you do need access to those panels and you need 3 feet around them for maintenance and repair. So that, yes, there are things you could do to play with that wall a little bit, to get some color on there, to get some more articulation on there. It's just gonna be applied
Yeah.
sheets.
So the different colors that you're seeing on the other elevations, that's because the building is articulating in and out. So that gives us a different plane to put a different material on. That particular end of the building, that's where our restrooms are, that's where our break room is, it's where our data room is, that's all our utility end of the Chase Bank. They like to put all that back of house space
Sure.
in one general area. And as such, they obviously don't want windows into the bathrooms. They don't want windows into the data room. And that's the bulk of what's on that side of that wall are those rooms. The one window that is there next to the door is for the employee break room. So we do have a window in there breaking it up. If we were to introduce a new material in there, we would really want to articulate the building, which would change its footprint, change its size. And we would have to do a bit of a replan, not too terrible, but a bit of a replan to get that so that we could bring in a different color. Right now, all the different colors are coming from where the building articulates in and out. And that portion of the building is flat.
I would say that if you wanted some level of articulation, you could put a stud in front of the stud and just get that minimal articulation, just to have a.
Different color panel.
Doesn't have to change the floor plan at all. It just pops that wall out just 3 inches.
What about some sort of canopy feature over both the door and that window that extends a reasonable distance?
We could look into that. It's a little odd because usually you look at canopies as that's an entrance where you want to come in, or
Yeah.
you're protecting something. This is a back, basically emergency door for the bank. It's not required by code to have, but they like to have a second exit in case bad guy comes in the front door, they can get out the back door. We could certainly explore that with the Chase designer and see if they would be up for something like that.
David, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I maybe you're waiting yet, but I haven't heard you either agree or disagree with the comment that this is a boring wall.
I didn't know whether this was Taco Bell, Panda Express, or any other fast food restaurant on County Line Road. This is just the architecture that I cannot stand. You've even given me the corner shelf that I have talked about on how many buildings.
It was being pretty cool.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for the character of the area. It brings another monotonous block building to the zone. The corner element in the blue color is just that corner frame that is everywhere nowadays. And it just disturbs me that we keep putting it on every building. You want me to keep going on how much I dislike the building? It doesn't have the character that the flat roof right here is somewhat contradictory to the immediate architecture, which we have gables and caps on the corners of buildings and sloped roofs. So it's not in keeping with that immediate character. It's more of the character down at Taco Bell, Burger King, Panda Express. The site plan, the general site plan is fine. I actually am kind of troubled by all the planting that is out there. Wow, that's a lot. And is it all going to grow? Is it going to stay growing? Because we never go back and make people replant. So if any of this dies, I'm going to have a field full of nothing. So I did think that the access that Commissioner Nellis talked about, I thought that was intended for another access point, but if we don't want to do that, that's fine. I'm okay with this bank going here, but that's about all I'm okay with on the plans.
So motion.
No.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve as presented for the site plan approval with the 2 conditions as noted.
You go with site plan first?
Yes.
You mean the CSM?
CSM.
Oh, that's what I say. Usually you do CSM first. So you're,
The 2 conditions was the CSM.
Second?
Yes.
okay, so motion made to approve the certified survey map with the 2 conditions and seconded. Is there any discussion on that motion to approve the certified survey map? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
One opposed? Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve what's the second half of it gonna be?
It's going to be this site plan review.
Site plan review with the 9 conditions as presented.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion.
I would point out that condition number 9 refers to or talks about the west elevation of the building. That should be improved, enhanced with additional architectural features, projections, articulation, changes in material color, and or additional foundation landscaping. Do you want to do anything with that condition?
I would drop the landscaping. I'd add some kind of architectural feature to that. Yes, you got to dress up that side of the building. It is plainly visible, and I just don't want to hide it with plants that are eventually going to die.
So, so are you, when you say drop the landscaping, you just mean as part of that condition,
Part of the
but not as part of what's been
No, because
presented as part of the landscaping plan? All right, I just want to be clear.
From that condition, you need to do some architectural improvements on that wall.
Now, is that something you want to see come back to the plan commission?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, good.
Everybody else wanting it too, so yes.
Is that a motion?
That is part of my motion, that it comes back to condition 9. In my motion, condition 9 is changed to remove the landscaping criteria and bring the project back to plan commission for approval of the architecture.
To remove the landscaping criteria as part of a change to make the west wall look better.
Correct.
Okay, not to change the landscaping plan as presented. Okay, and the second is okay with that motion as stated? All right, discussion, further discussion. I was amazed that when I saw the landscaping plan, and I thought it was very, I'm not gonna say, I don't mean aggressive in the sense of a negative. I think it was, what it helps to do is, break up that corner. If you come to that corner now, all you see is a long span of driveway and parking lot until you get to Fleet Farm. I know that my significant other has always said, that she hates that corner. Can we put something there? And I said, well, honey, when I own it, we could put whatever you like there, but right now I don't. So, I do appreciate the landscaping to help break it up and the sight lines that, are directly impacted by anybody that comes up to that intersection. I think the landscaping will do a great amount to soften and give a better presentation to what's there now, which is just a bunch of cracked asphalt. So thank you for that. Appreciate it very
Welcome, and I
much.
agree wholeheartedly.
Josh, you've looked over these landscaping suggestions and are in favor of what's being presented and the longevity of them in our environment?
Yeah, it's all stuff that's gonna grow well here. It's just, there's a lot of it, so maintaining it's hard, but again, there's a lot of perennials, which I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but they get cut down, so it's not always a visual plant that's there. So to have it be portrayed as what's gonna screen that wall, I don't think is accurate.
That's why the trustee Baum is looking for something else to help break that up. But as was described in the presentation, by the person at the podium, they're committed, Chase is committed to its appearance, and from what I heard, and maybe I just wanted to hear, but it sounded like it's something that they would keep up with and continue to keep healthy in every way they can. So it's part of what they want for their buildings. Further discussion? No further discussion? Everyone understands the motion and that we will see this one more time for the changes made to that west side. All right, if there's no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Aye.
One opposed, motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Can I get a business card or contact information before you leave tonight?
Absolutely.
Next item under new business is item E, TR Capital LLC, property owner located at West 219, North 11588 Appleton Avenue, site plan review for Phase 3 expansion to construct 2 additional storage buildings at Appleton Avenue Storage. On tonight's agenda for action, give us more information on this new business item. We'll turn the meeting back over to Director Retzloff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In August of 2021, the village board approved a land use plan map amendment, a rezoning, and a conditional use permit to redevelop a 3.5 acre parcel for indoor and outdoor self-storage. In December of 2021, the Plan Commission approved what we now know is as phase one of site development and building plans that included 3 self-storage buildings with 61 units and 22, just under 23,000 square feet of indoor storage, 62 outdoor parking stalls for RV, boat, and other large vehicles. There was an on-site stormwater management basin and fencing and perimeter landscaping around portions of the site. In January of this year, the Planning Commission approved Phase 2 plans for 2 additional storage buildings, one over the contaminated soil asphalt cap area near the mid-central part of the site, and the other, as shown in the aerial photograph, that shows all the buildings through Phase 2 approval. At this time, the owners are seeking approval of Phase 3 for 2 additional self-storage buildings with additional units totaling 15,375 square feet of indoor storage area over what is now the balance of the outdoor storage area. That decreases the outdoor vehicle parking stall area from the Phase 2 count of 42 stalls down to 17 that would be located in the far southeast corner of the site. Here is a graphic that shows the approved Phase 2 site plan and the proposed Phase 3 site plan with the additional buildings and reconfigured outdoor area in the corner. The building elevations that were included in the packet.
See others?
And proposed landscaping plan that was included in the packet, but it reflects no change to the landscaping effectively that was constructed at the end of Phase 1. As pointed out in the staff report, developer proposed no changes to the landscaping. The Plan Commission, however, approved the staff recommendation that included a requirement for additional landscaping around the east and southern perimeter of the site that was not constructed. And that's a condition that's repeated in the recommended approval for Phase 3. The lighting plan, the orange dots show the existing lighting on the building. The blue shows proposed additional lighting. Cutoff fixtures on the outside of the buildings have now been installed on all of the Phase 1 and Phase 2 buildings, as I understand. The last question or comment from staff concerns the use of asphalt and asphalt millings. The original Phase 1 approval had basically a third of the front portion of the site that was paved with asphalt, and the back portions were left or were covered or surfaced with a asphalt milling material, not quite a complete and typical asphalt product. As indicated in the staff report, the reasoning that was given that I was able to go back in the files and listen to the meetings was that the one of the reasons was the contaminated soil cap needed to not be disturbed, and that the outdoor storage area that was going to comprise essentially 2/3 of the site, they didn't want the heavy trucks that would be slow moving across that area to tear up what would ordinarily be an asphalt area, which made sense. Now with Phase 2 and proposed Phase 3, most of the outdoor storage area is being replaced by indoor storage buildings, and essentially the staff is saying at this point that recommending that those areas be paved that are now in asphalt millings, with the exception of the southeast corner where the 7 stalls are left, or 17 stalls are left for the outdoor storage. Staff recommendation is to approve the site development building plans for the 2 additional commercial buildings, subject to 7 conditions that are listed in the staff report. And I know representatives for TR Capital want to address the conditions, so come on up, gentlemen. Thank you.
So we want to address I believe it would be considered condition 7, the asphalt. So part of Phase 1 and Phase 2, we had the crushed asphalt as part of our drive aisle. So we did install that asphalt in phase 2, and it is obviously our proposal to have that in phase 3. What's existing and then what is additional to clean up and get the proper grading for the water. As Director Retzloff said, some of the stuff he said about the trucks and the asphalt cap wasn't our original thing, but one of our main reasons for the asphalt now and still going forward is that we are still worried about the settling and the condition of that entire fill pit, cracking of our asphalt and whatnot in the future years to come still. So that was always one of our biggest reasons for the asphalt. The current pavement, that was the original virgin land. So that was actually stripped and then pavement was added. Everything else has been filled or isn't considered virgin land on the site. So we're still thinking or considering or hoping not as much, but we may still have cracking and settling on there that we're a little concerned with. And we would have to remove the phase 2 and partial phase 1 crushed asphalt that has already been installed to add in this pavement asphalt that is being proposed.
So this is pretty much what's the virgin, this is virgin ground.
Yeah, it's not in the microphone.
I just put our thoughts here.
Okay.
So that part was virgin ground. So on the original plan, we were able to strip that, compact it, roll test it, adequately be confident that that was going to hold up, and it has held up perfectly. We had Payne and Dolan do it, and they said, yeah, this will hold up. The rest of that, we have about 6,800, and I'll say that again, about 6,800 loads of fill in there that came off of the freeway project. So we filled, compacted it. The buildings have steel grade beams, which are a foot. So those are made to rise and fall, which they've been performing perfectly. But the asphalt, we would like to, the reason we wanted to do recycled asphalt is because under there, it's basically 80 feet deep. It's an old quarry that's been mined. And we filled it. And it was kind of partially filled before we had it. It was a lot filled, and then we just kind of finished filling it. So we're not confident that the asphalt is going to hold up even if we put it in there. So I think what we're going to end up with is just a lot of sinkholes and broken up asphalt. And so we have recycled asphalt in there, and which is kind of, in my opinion, it's a better product. It's semi pervious anyways, and it's a recycled product.
It is quite hard. I mean,
Yeah, it's hard as a
so
rock.
I guess I'm just curious from my own, what is the asphalt a requirement of just structures like this, or is this just what is the reasoning behind the asphalt from a usage or physical standpoint?
Well, the zoning code requirement for off-site parking and storage and drive aisles on commercial properties is for it to be either an asphalt or a concrete surface. And like I said, what I found was that you had proposed the use of the millings, for lack of a better phrase, because of your concerns about the regular asphalt breaking up, because of the amount and the amount of outdoor storage and anticipation for heavy and a lot of large vehicles. Well, now you've effectively done away with the large vehicles for all intents and purposes. And that's why I'm suggesting that we go back and require a more code compliant site development. I mean, if we knew that the whole area was going to be indoor storage from the beginning, the requirement would have been for asphalt.
Right, and the reason it wasn't indoor storage from the beginning was, one, obviously we would have been silly to build 7 buildings right away, but also we were always unsure about how the site was going to behave. So now we're 2 years since we've actually been on the site, and it's, we're seeing some settling, but we feel comfortable that it can sustain buildings. That's why we are kind of doing it this way.
I frankly, I don't know why you say it would be silly to think you would build all 7 buildings, because there are other storage facilities that build out their.
I guess it's riskier.
Plan for it. Your plan originally was not for 7 buildings. It was 3 and.
Correct. We were excited about the outside parking opportunity on a site that didn't seem like it could support much else. So, but then as we proceeded through this, the buildings seemed to be viable, I guess would be the best word to use.
I
there.
never, honestly, I never thought we would fill those buildings up. I never thought we would do phase two, and I never thought we would be here spending $3 million on an old dump doing phase three. I never,
They
I
must
never
be
thought I'd
profitable,
be
I
here
would
building
assume.
$3 million worth of buildings on a dump.
Where's the cap?
It's all,
This whole thing.
Second north building.
the whole thing.
But there was a cap, an asphalt cap.
It's underneath that building.
The top middle building.
Okay.
And whatever other asphalt is obviously the pavement
And
there.
then if I can also interject, so the DNR, recycled asphalt, 3 inches is considered a permanent cap by their criteria. So it doesn't have to be asphalt. It has to be a recycled asphalt. 3 inches is a permanent cap according to the DNR standard.
We had to do a special,
We spent
with them for that.
$30,000 on the,
So you,
Get this done.
so you've provided the minimum 3-inch.
no, there's more than that. There's like 8 inches.
no, that's their
8
recommendation.
to 10 inches.
So there's a lot of there's a lot of crushed asphalt in there.
We'd have to rip it all out and then.
So that was, so we would like some consideration for that item.
Commissioners, questions? Trustee Baum?
Yes, it's time and time again, we're getting people asking for consideration. We don't want to follow your code. Give us consideration. I'm having trouble with constantly giving consideration when we have codes that we should be following. So I'm going to push for asphalt, and whether it gets put in today, tomorrow, or next week, I'm not sure if there's a timeline. We can give them some time to let this settle out a little bit.
We would, if worst case scenario, we would appreciate that. Latitude at maybe extending this out more than, hey, you know, at spring, summer, potentially, maybe a year or
I have,
something too.
if it's your call, you want it done, it's gonna be expensive. I'll have to mill it out and then haul it off. It just doesn't come apart. It's recycled asphalt. It's that thick. You can't just take it out like gravel.
Calls for.
I
guess
know.
I guess part of our concern is in phase two, Trico asphalt was proposed and was approved, so that is.
I didn't know it was
there.
code.
So now we have to remove.
I have
that.
storage facilities in Lisbon and it's code.
That's Lisbon.
I didn't know.
Germantown.
It was I know, I'm not a charity case and I made a mistake.
It's not a mistake. It's just what-
Yeah.
Obviously, you've got a better business with indoor storage and outdoor storage. And I congratulate you for your success because it's obviously working and people are taking advantage of what you're offering out there as a service. But if we start granting those types of considerations long-term, everybody else is going to come forward that we've already either asked for it or any new development that would be similar to yours. So I have no problem for you getting there eventually because you seem to be running a positive progression with your business. And I would tend to believe with those additional buildings and a little gratis of time, you would have the hopefully have the means in which to accomplish what we're asking. So I don't need it there tomorrow, but I would like to see it within a couple of years.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I was
Let it
thinking-
settle. I know you gotta settle out a little bit.
I was thinking 24 months and we'll do it. And
Yeah,
then,
okay.
Just so if I have to dig up any soft spots, I can make that happen.
And what condition number is that, Jeff?
7.
7?
I have a question though. If we're starting to go more impervious, there's no requirement for retention?
I talked to the village engineer, consulting engineer about this situation. And he said for stormwater management analysis purposes, the asphalt and the millings that have been installed are treated the same in terms of their runoff coefficient or whatever they use. Peter, you probably have a better sense of that for determining stormwater management capacities. So it's sort of a wash, whether it's the millings or regular asphalt in terms of stormwater management.
So the answer is no?
So the answer would be no, there wouldn't be any additional stormwater basin capacity requirement that, to my knowledge, based on what the engineer was saying.
Wasn't there a washout area that had to be addressed?
Yeah, originally phase
To the
one,
side of the property?
the whole southeast corner was all rough topography and it was sort of going to be left sort of as is virgin territory, but when phase two came along, you proposed to fill and level it all out and make that back outdoor storage area what it shows on the screen here.
Which is great.
It's merged with the quarry better than basically a valley between the two or something that it was.
Yeah. And we know that Hans Dawson and his project to restore the gravel pit site has plans for around the perimeter. You can even see on this lower graphic for
Great.
smoothing things off, grading it and making it a more subtle transition with ultimately some landscaping as well.
So can we, since you're on that point, can we talk about the landscaping just a bit? And I don't want to use the word consideration. I won't do that. Latitude might be the better word. So so right now, we don't have landscaping on, I believe,
back to
the
that.
east and a portion of the south, if you want to back up to the landscaping plan. So my concern at the moment is that on the east, Dawson currently has an 8-foot berm, maybe even 9, because I can see it over my 8-foot fence right behind our fence. So I don't exactly know what his future plan is and how that should factor into my landscape plan, because there doesn't make sense. I'm not going to put landscape on the inside of my fence, and I'm not going to put landscape on the outside of my fence where there's an 8-foot berm. I'm not saying I'm not going to do something or can't. I'm just saying it doesn't make necessarily sense right now because I don't know what he's still doing.
Right, neither do we.
I also have the same problem with the other side that you're also requesting because he's still driving there too and bringing in material. So I'm not saying we can't and won't do landscaping. I just don't know what that looks like yet.
He has a 9-foot berm coming all the way.
On that east side, it curved around our fence at one point. It's changed.
It's over the top of our fence.
So like I said, I don't know what to do at the moment.
So if the future berm on the Moraine development parcel is taller than your fence, requiring you to put landscaping doesn't make sense.
I agree.
If
Which is
that's
why I
all
haven't
it's gonna
proposed anything because I don't know what to propose.
We don't know if it's gonna stay.
Right, we don't.
You could just be putting dirt there temporarily. We have no
Can
idea.
Can we put that on a 2-year plan? This project has to come back here in 2 years. In 2 years, you gotta do all the asphalt, and in 2 years, we'll see what Moraine has done and decide whether you need landscaping or not.
I don't have a problem with
I
that.
don't either.
Put it,
If
That's
I
fine,
call
if that's
Hans
what you
up
wanna
and
do, that's
I'd say, can I put trees on top of your berm? And he says, yeah, I'll pay for it. We're done.
Until I know what
Right.
he's doing out there, I don't know what impact you're having on him or he's having on you. So
he's gotta shake out what he wants to be
Yeah.
pushing around over there too.
Right. That's kind of our concern. And we're not obviously fighting with him or anything about any of this, but we're just waiting. He just got done dealing with the water that comes out of our pond onto his property. He's still working on that. So I don't know what stuff is going to look like there yet.
So do you want to defer implementation of condition 7 and 3 for 2 years? Is that basically what you're saying?
7 is asphalt, 3 is landscaping.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I want to do. So I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion, right? No? No motion? No motion.
I think,
We just did the,
I step away for one session. I'm gonna make a motion to approve as presented with the 7 conditions. However, condition 3 and condition 7 need to be brought back before this board 24 months from today to decide what is actually gonna happen with those 2.
So a definitive plan on how number 3 and 7 are going to be addressed
right.
to be brought back within
24 months.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Sure.
Do I need to just work with Jeff if I'm just trying to come up with a landscape plan for that final corner, or do I need to
come
come
before
back
this
here?
board.
Come before this board.
Okay, just
We
curious.
don't know what we don't know what the landscape is gonna be,
Okay,
so we can't address.
I
the
wasn't sure.
a lot of things change in 2 years.
All right, so that's your motion.
It's my motion.
And did we have a second? Motion made and seconded, discussion. Mr.
Is
Nils,
that within 24 months or
no longer than.
no longer than 24 months? Okay.
We won't, none of us will be here.
Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff will be here. All right, further discussion. Mr. Williams,
So Jeff, how does compliance with that work? Is the onus on them just to come back here in 2 years, or are you going, do we have a internal, do we track and do we contact them in 2 years and say it's time for you to come back, or how are we going to identify that they need to be back here in 2 years?
Well, it'll be a shared responsibility. You guys will know that you need to come back within 24 months and we'll keep reminding you once a week.
That's, does my bond hold for the 2 years then? How does that work?
I don't think we'll, unless the planning commission feels otherwise, I don't think that we'll withhold your $20,000 occupancy bond for that 2-year period.
Okay.
When you start the project.
Although that's a good
Have
idea.
to put a new one in again?
We can use that to pay for the asphalt.
When you start the project.
That is part of my plan.
Make sure the project gets completed
right, at that time.
at that time.
Yeah, actually, now more that I think about it in this last 10 seconds, it seems reasonable to just keep your $20,000.
It's kind of what I figured. I just,
That would be a great incentive, I would think. Knowing that we don't invest it or anything like that.
well, of course not.
We're not buying Bitcoin or anything.
Further discussion? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen, and congratulations on your success.
Thank you.
Next item under new business is item F, Village of Germantown, Department of Public Works Facility located at West 130 North 10200, Town 9 Parkway, sign review application on tonight's agenda for action. Give us more information on this new business item. Once again, we'll turn the meeting over to Director Retzloff.
As development continues on the DPW site, the property is shown on the screen, south of Donjas Bay Road and on the new Town 9 Parkway. The contractor consultant for the project for the village, Grafe, is moving forward with the sign proposal for the monument sign at the intersection of Town 9 Parkway and Donjas Bay Road. The sign on the screen is patterned after the Village Hall campus sign here. Doesn't have the fancy witch's cap or the block thing on the side, but it does include a 3x9 electronic message center reader board in the middle. It does have meets all of the sign requirements for a monument sign, the masonry base, the address coordinates, the landscaping, the relative location to the property line. Included in the packet were some sightline renderings that show how the sign would appear from various distances, different positions, east and west, along the corridor, the Donjas Bay corridor, and from the south, from Town 9 Parkway as you're leaving the site. So this is what's proposed as part of the development, and the village is seeking approval of this concept prior to turning it over to a sign contractor for fabrication and installation.
What font do we have out here? Is it similar to this?
The intention would be that the same Village of Germantown font would be used on this sign as the Village Hall sign. The Department of Public Works font, I'm not sure if the intention is for it to be the same as the library and the Village Hall.
What are we doing on the water tower now? We're not going with that same Gothic font, are we?
No. No, the graphic I don't see here in the building, but it's a very basic Times Roman font, kind of a
So
thin.
it's a serif?
It has serif
Okay.
on it. Frankly, I don't particularly like it, but that's not my call. I would have hoped for something a little bolder, a little more contemporary, but
Times Roman bold? I'm just kidding.
that's for the board and Public Works to decide, but it's not this font on the water tower.
Okay. I'll leave it to the commissioners. It's just going to be there for the next 30 years. If that's what we want to use.
I will tell you that the Construction Oversight Committee identified that this font is too difficult to read at 60 miles an hour flying down Mequon Road or flying down the interstate. So they wanted to go with something that was bolder and more easily readable. So that's why we switched it on the water towers. And looking at this, even from this distance to that TV screen, it's a difficult font to read.
I'd be willing to go back to whatever's on the water towers, just for the next 30 years. I don't like the Gothic, and we've had people come over from Germany and ask us, why are you using that font? They don't even use it in Germany because it has factions of reminding them of the years of Hitler, and they don't care for it.
This font?
Yes.
Oh. But you don't like the font that we put on the new?
I don't have a problem with that font.
You don't?
No, I don't have a problem with it. If it's more able to be read at a distance, I would be in favor of it, where this, I can see it can be difficult to read.
Yeah.
It's been used for many, many years and it was chosen, I know, because of it presented the German heritage, but it is going forward, it doesn't need to be there if this commission decides they want to see something else.
I'll make a motion to approve the sign as presented, but hold off on the word Germantown until we find the proper font for that word.
Just the word Germantown?
I don't have a problem with the script or Department of Public Works. Everything else is fine to me, but it's up to this body.
That's my motion.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. And again, I'm not looking to take away our German heritage. I'm just trying to make it more readable.
Yep.
No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? None opposed? Motion carries. Takes care of all items under new business. Next item on the agenda is citizen input and public appearance. If there's anyone within our audience or joining us via WebEx that would like to make any citizen input or public appearance, you're welcome to do so at this time. If you could please fill out a slip for Lori so that she gets your name and address correct, that would be very helpful. But anyone willing to come up and participate in citizen input public appearance is welcome to do so at the podium in the middle of the room. Is there anyone wishing to come up? Who are you? I'm just kidding. I said, who are you?
By now. Melanie Smythe, N140W17938 Cedar Lane. I agree that the font should be different. I don't really like the script. I think it has the same problem as the Germanic font. So, and for it to be DPW, I mean, why not just use the same kind of font as the rest of the sign and just have it different size? The spacing looks bad. It was stuffed on that side too, so on that face. So I don't think it was a good.
The kerning and tracking is too tight.
Yeah, it wasn't wide enough or something, or the letters were not spaced correctly either. But I mean, it's just ink on paper. My main comments are that the theme for tonight seems to be that we don't have design standards, and whether it's for fences or for berms or for buffers or for landscaping. And so I would encourage whatever work that needs to be done so that people have direction when they come. They can say, oh yeah, I found this in the code. And they can come with a fence and they say it's this. And I think your meetings would go faster that way. Thanks.
Thank you for coming forward. I did receive a comment to our email account for comments, and it reads as such: the issue is for the proposal of Chase Bank on the Fleet Farm parking lot. We have a Chase Bank on Mequon and Pilgrim already in Germantown. Do we really need or want another one? We are not in favor of having another bank or anything go up in the empty space of the parking lot of Fleet Farm. Do we not want another ugly box building? Do we need to fill up every empty space? County Line is busy enough. It's a mini Blue Mound Road. Public safety departments have enough to do now. They are short-staffed as it is, and this comes from Mr. and Mrs. Schneider. That's what I have for citizen input and public appearance. Does anyone have any announcements they'd like to make? Yes, ma'am.
Jan Miller, I turned in my little card, W151 and 10297, Winslow Circle West. I just wanted to make a couple of comments. I don't like making citizen comments at the end of the meeting, but hey, it's a different way to look at it. I am not in favor of the bank architecture proposed for County Line and Appleton Avenue. I think it looks like a box. Even the newer bank that was put into the Sendix parking lot it's still a rectangle, but it has more architecture. Perhaps taking a look at that would be better. For me, for the sign for the DPW, either make it exactly the same as what you have here, or make it just square and easy to read, because it is the DPW and there are too many fonts. I agree. I am concerned that we're not using or not waiting for Tracy Cross survey, getting the wetlands delineation for the Holy Hill area and Freistadt area, and we still don't have the railroad crossing, no data. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and I think that is all for me. Thank you so much, commissioners, and you have a good evening.
Thank you. You also. If there's nothing else, we can be adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you all for watching. Have a good night.